kept you waiting, huh?
Yeah, and so, they're traditionally role-playing games, and, for a lot of it has been turn-based, RPG, but the later ones have more real-time action.
I'm sorry to interrupt. And when you say turn based, you meant
Ah,
like you select what button is going to be the next attack, correct?
yeah,
Or
so normally, you're fighting an enemy or however, and you
yeah,
have your party with you or you're solo, it depends on the situation, but basically, you're selecting what move you wanna do. Do you wanna attack? Do you wanna defend? You wanna do a magic spell?
and it
You wanna
coincides with what button. So like triangle is going to be like a
uh
high strike or something like that. Or
No, I mean, for the later ones,
okay,
they do kind of some stuff like that. Like for instance, they actually, though I'm not using that as my game here, but Final Fantasy VII did get a remake,
yeah,
and that they actually it was turn based in the beginning, and they made it more of an action RPG. So you're actually pressing square and stuff to attack. And I think triangle you can switch to a different like style of attacking, but
yeah,
then you have these like moves that you can do outside of that too, like these magic abilities and
like
things like
cast a
that.
spell or something.
Yeah, and so in that sense, it is kind of like combo like and
Yeah,
different button configurations. But traditionally, like the first 11 or so
yeah,
was more of like you pick what they're gonna do and then they do it.
they
And
execute it.
but it's still like it's still intense because it's like a game of chess and your enemy is like just dropping bombs on you, and so like it's still very challenging. While that might sound like a slower pace, easy game, but it's still
Yeah, you gotta
really
predict your
challenging.
next move, really chess
Yeah,
chess style here. And
yeah.
and so would I be fair in saying, would I be correct in saying that Knights of the Old Republic Star Wars would be a turn-based game or no?
Yes. From what I understand, I
Oh,
haven't
you've never played.
I never
Oh,
played that
oh,
one.
we're in trouble.
I know, but from what I saw, if I recall correctly, I think that one is a turn-based game
Okay,
where
good.
basically like you're showing up, you're battling them, and
Yeah.
then it's kind of like, all right, you do some damage on me,
Yeah.
I'm gonna do this
Yeah.
next.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
right.
Yeah, and that's one of the greater ones that I didn't have on my
Yeah,
list,
and
unfortunately.
they are doing a remake for that.
I heard and I'm
Yeah,
excited. I think I'm trying to stay away from ones that I know they're doing
right.
and I want that they're not doing,
Yeah.
to bring back. But anyways, more about
Yeah.
your Final Fantasy. Go ahead.
So that's the Final Fantasy series in a nutshell. And so they did something really cool when the PSP was out, and they actually made a game called Dissidia Final Fantasy. And what this was, it brought all of the main characters and the main villains from all of the Final Fantasies up to that point,
Wow.
which I think was probably like 12 at that point when that came out, the first one, anyways, and they made it a fighter. And so you were actually
Oh, no
fighting each
way.
other,
So
and
it wasn't
it
turn-based then?
wasn't turn based.
Oh,
It was
wow.
actually real time combat. And it was really cool because the combat was more of along the lines of those like Dragon Ball Z games, like the
Yeah.
3D ones,
Yeah.
where you can actually fly around and zoom to your targets. And it made it very anime esque, to where like if you ever saw Final Fantasy VII movie Advent Children, or like you just seen, those crazy fights like in Dragon Ball Z or something where you're
Yeah.
zipping around, which, is an
I
anime
love
for
that.
those. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you can fly around and you're attacking, one on one. And what's cool is that each of your moves are like your special moves from those games. So like it meant a lot where if you did play these games and you're playing that character you know and love, to then be able to do all of those moves and like dodge
It kinda, like,
midair.
unlocked everything for you there,
Yeah.
where you were
And
able to do much more than just, your turn and whatever
right.
went with that, you know? You were unlocked more and you were able to do more freedom. You had more freedom to use that character to its full potential almost?
Exactly. And
Okay.
and you know, and so but at its full power too, because normally these like special moves for a lot of them they were called limit breaks,
Yeah.
and you'd have to build them up over time and then you can unleash them.
Sweet.
Whereas in this game, it's like you can just bust them out like combo after combo, then you're
That's
doing
dope.
them. And it had a really cool system to where you had two different types of attacks. There was like your regular bravery attacks and then your HP attacks that actually reduced the health. So the more bravery attacks you did, the more damage you would build up to when you did a HP attack, then it would take down more of their
Wow.
health.
Wow.
So it was a really unique element to fighting games that I hadn't seen before. Plus the fact that it's Final Fantasy characters and the fact that it's like you're zipping around and you feel badass and like super powerful.
Yeah.
It makes for a lot of intense combat where you're just even just going against the AI, though it did have a multiplayer element, it was just really challenging. And you would like try to strike them, then they dodge you, and then you dodge them, and then it's like a real intense fight.
Yeah.
And so this game unfortunately was trapped on the PSP console, which was the handheld PlayStation
Before the Nintendo Switch, I want to
before the
add,
Nintendo Switch.
before all of this.
It was
Well, obviously Game Boy was there.
yeah, Nintendo
Nintendo
had
Game Boy,
their
yeah, they were ahead of the game.
Yeah, Nintendo had their hold on the handheld market, but Sony gave it a try with PSP and then PS Vita after. But it was a really cool game for the time, and I think a lot of people missed it because it was on that platform.